My name is Micheline Hughes, and I'm a CPA. I got my certification in California in 1984, back when we had to work for a CPA firm for 2 years, and I worked for Arthur Andersen in Los Angeles. I am now a controller. Most of my career, I purposely left the CPA firm after 2.5 years because I didn't want to be on that track. Most of my career has been spent in company accounting departments. I worked up the ladder to controller, and that's what I've been for several years, 30 years. A controller runs all the accounting functions of a company. You need a controller in huge companies, and you need a controller in small companies. And sometimes a controller has no one working for them, and sometimes they have, 100 people working for them. The largest group of people I had under me as controller was at Warner Brothers in their, it was actually then called the Burbank Studios. It was a joint venture between Warner Brothers and Columbia Pictures. And I had, I think, like 15 people there. And that was super fun. So a controller is generally a CPA, and they have responsibility for all the accounting functions, all the reporting, financial statements, and that's it. I had decided to go to school for business after majoring in biochemistry. I had decided that I didn't like the biochemistry field for earning a living, but I was fascinated with business, so I did that, and there were a lot of recruiters coming to the school for CPA firms, so I was interested in that because I just really wanted to work and earn money. After I saw what demand there was for CPAs. You need to have a real comfort with numbers. You need to love to do puzzles. When I interview people for positions in accounting, I ask them what drew them to accounting, what made them think that they wanted to go into that field. And what I'm always looking for is I love to do puzzles, and I love to have a result, and that was the same for me. I think accounting is really fun. It doesn't seem like it. You have to work in it to understand how fun it is because you're always solving problems. You definitely need a 4-year degree in accounting. Anything different than that, in my opinion, doesn't prepare you properly for a staff accountant job, and accounting manager job, or a controller job, or even a CFO job. How many different industries I have been able to work in and just satisfy my curiosity. I've worked in the entertainment industry, the healthcare industry, hospitality, medical manufacturing, real estate, so that's pretty fun. Usually it's working with deadlines and meeting the expectations and needs of multiple people. You have to It depends on what kind of entity you're working for. You might have to answer to just owners or fellow employees who have their own deadlines to meet, and you also have to answer to your own staff. Make sure you are not burning them out and are meeting their needs so that they stay with you. My advice is to be patient, start at the bottom so you learn everything. Don't think that once you have a degree, everyone should recognize how awesome you are. You need to learn from a mentor, get yourself in a decent company. I say go big. Don't stay in a little town. Go big, get some great experience. I generally, my whole workday revolves around emails, communication. I work with people more than I work with numbers. It's responding to people and creating reports and giving feedback on what they need. On average, around 50. It can be more in a different type of company, for sure, but for where I work right now, it's only around 50. I think the field, so I've been doing this for almost 40 years, and I have heard over and over that accountants are going to be out of business for various reasons related to technology. Hasn't happened. When I started, we didn't even use computers. We used columnar pads, which are paper that's this wide with columns, and you hand wrote everything and use an adding machine. So guess what? I'm still working, and there's still demand, and I think that we're expected to be more productive. We could do a lot more than we ever have. And as businesses become more complex, accountants are needed to basically record what's going on in the business and report it back to people who need to see that information. I think it will only get more complex. There's going to be fewer or less need for kind of clerical type people. You're going to really need to have high tech skills. I'm seeing that people who haven't kept up with technology and their skill set really fall by the wayside and don't get to have a good shot at some great jobs. So I only see it getting more complex and more interesting, really. There's not an average. You could do so many different kind of jobs within accounting. I mean, you could be a CPA in a CPA firm and be a partner, and that's a whole other world that I don't really know much about. But with what I do, the starting salary for a 4-year degreed person is, gosh, the last I did hiring, I think it was about, I had to pay people at least $50,000 a year coming out. It's probably more now. For an accounting manager in our area, probably around $80,000. It really depends on the revenues of the company. For controllers, you could expect anywhere from $90,000 to maybe $130,000. a year. And CFOs, it's really the sky's the limit. You could start at 150 and go up. But CFOs, you kind of need to have an MBA also. It depends on the entity. The only negatives are when you might have a deadline and your personal life is in the way. You know, if you have kids and stuff, you have to really figure that out. Time management is really important. It hasn't impacted me negatively at all, but it is something that some people do have challenges with. But by the same token, if you're a small business owner, you can't really leave on vacation easily. I've never had that problem. I could plan my time well in advance, and I enjoy that. People don't get laid off in my field. I have not seen that. Even through some pretty bad recessions, I have not seen any accountants be laid off ever. Because when a company is doing bad, they need accountants, and when it's doing really well, they need accountants. Fired, you will get fired if you're not performing. I mean, that's in any kind of company, but it is a job that's in demand, so people don't lose their jobs easily. You can be an analyst, a financial analyst. That's a little bit more you're projecting in the future. What I do as a controller, or if you're an accounting manager or a staff accountant, you're generally recording what happened. You're looking back. You're a historian of the financials. You're looking backwards. Financial analysts look forward. They do budgets and forecasting. You can, like I mentioned earlier, you could work in a CPA firm and you could do taxes, or you could do advisory work, or you could do audits. That has a whole array of different industries that you could interact with. It's really interesting. I used to work in the entertainment industry, so one of the interesting fields you could go into as an accountant is production accounting. If you like that, if you like to be near movies and TV show sets, you could be a production accountant and run a whole accounting team on a set. That's pretty cool. You could work in hospitals. That could be very interesting also if you have any interest in the medical field. So really you have to align yourself with an industry if that's important to you, and you can be an accountant in that industry. I'd say I spend my day, let's see, maybe 20% of the time, I'd say over a week, 20 to 30% of the time in meetings, discussing things that we all have to agree on, and it's important to get together and make some decisions. Maybe, I'll give that 30%, and then another 30% in actual accounting work, like on on my computer doing spreadsheet work, and maybe 10% schmoozing with fellow co-workers and learning about things that they're doing. And let's say I have 30, and then the rest of the time, 30% would be communicating through emails, phone calls, that sort of thing. I would highly encourage anyone who has any small interest in this look further. It is a very solid, lucrative field. You could jump in and out of it as you need. If you have family demands, you could pull back. You could jump back in when you're free to do that. I think that over the last, I'd say 15 years, it's been very difficult to find enthusiastic people out of school with a 4-year accounting degree, because they have gone towards maybe more programming sort of majors, and that has hurt our industry because we don't have enough people to hire. So I hope that people understand that it's a totally fun field and you could make a lot of money. So think about it.